next class. In today's class, we are going to discuss nitrogen metabolism. So let us start with nitrogen cycle first. So see, nitrogen is present in very much of abundance in the air, isn't it? 78% of the air is nitrogen. But you would be very surprised to know that there are certain elements in the soil which are found to be always in deficient state than what is actually required by the plant. Okay, that means in whatever quantity the plant would require them, they are always present in less of that. So we call them critical elements. And the most important critical element is going to be nitrogen. Okay, followed by phosphorus and potassium, but then the most critical element is nitrogen. That means in one way I am telling you that nitrogen is there in abundance in our surrounding. 78% of the air is nitrogen. But on the other hand, also nitrogen is the most critical element. Now why is that so? That is because nitrogen is highly inert. Okay, it is unreactive. That's why it cannot be directly taken up by the plants or animals. That's why always the plants would have to compete for soil nitrogen forms with the microbes. Okay, always in the soil whatever microbes are present, with them the plants would have to compete for the available nitrogen present in the soil nitrogen forms, because it is always going to be the critical element. So how is the atmospheric nitrogen, which is highly unreactive, converted to soil nitrogen form so that plants can take it up? Plants can finally take it up, and from plants the animals can take it. So this is going to be maintained by a cycle that's called nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle would circulate the nitrogen from atmosphere, then to the biological systems, that is plants and animals or microbes, and then finally it would be from the microorganisms or from the living organisms, it would be again getting back to the atmospheric nitrogen. So it's a cycle. The nitrogen, which is where the reservoir of nitrogen is atmosphere. From atmosphere, the nitrogen is getting to the soil. From the soil, taken up by the plants, animals, and finally microbes. And then from this biological organisms, it is again getting back to the atmosphere. This is forming a continuous cycle, and that is what is called nitrogen cycle. Fine, because of nitrogen cycle, nitrogen is being available to us, and only then we are able to survive, because after all you know very well that nitrogen is a very crucial component of various important biomolecules like proteins, then vitamins, hormones, etc. Isn't it? So let us today discuss this nitrogen cycle in details. Now as you can see in the diagram, nitrogen cycle is being depicted here. Atmospheric nitrogen is converted to soil nitrogen form by various types of processes going on, that is electrical nitrogen fixation or atmospheric nitrogen fixation, then industrial nitrogen fixation, and finally biological nitrogen fixation. So by the process of nitrogen fixation, atmospheric nitrogen is converted into soil nitrogen forms, that is nitrates, nitrites, alright, and ammonia. Now by the help of this, finally when the soil nitrogen pool is replenished with nitrogen, the nitrogen is taken up by the plants, and from the plants it is transferred to the animals. But then when the plants and animal remains would die, their dead remains or their decaying biomass would be finally converting the nitrogen into ammonia. So this is known as ammonification. But ammonia was also again further converted first into nitrite and then into nitrate. This conversion of ammonia into nitrite and then nitrate is called nitrification. And finally, a part of the nitrate would be converted back to atmospheric nitrogen by certain soil microbes again, and this process will be known as denitrification. So this is by the help of various processes you see that atmospheric nitrogen is first getting into the soil. From the soil it is getting into the biological systems, and from there again it is getting back to the atmospheric reservoir pool. Okay, so this is what is nitrogen cycle all about. So let us now discuss all of these processes in details. Fine. So first, step 1, nitrogen fixation. The process of conversion of atmospheric nitrogen to ammonia is called nitrogen fixation. You can also define it as atmospheric nitrogen being converted to soil nitrogen forms is called nitrogen fixation. Now, nitrogen fixation, as you have seen already in the diagram, it can happen by 3 processes. First, electrical nitrogen fixation. See, lightning or UV, that is or thundering continuously happening in the atmosphere provides enough energy to allow nitrogen to combine with oxygen, and this forms various types of nitrogen oxides, okay, like NO, NO2, N2O, etc. So these particular nitrogen oxides, okay, what they would do is they would then later on combine with water, forming nitrate or nitrite. That would finally be entering the soil, from where the plant roots will be now able to access it. Okay. Next, industrial nitrogen fixation. Industrial nitrogen fixation occurs from automobile exhaust and power generating stations, which would be always directly, they would be releasing nitrogen oxides. Not only that, another source of industrial nitrogen fixation would be directly made by the fertilizer industries. See, in certain industries, ammonia is directly going to be produced by combination of nitrogen and hydrogen at high temperature and pressure. This will give rise to ammonia directly. Ammonia will be then used to form various fertilizers, including urea. So then this would be, when mixed with soil, they will be directly allowing nitrogen fixation. So that is also another source of industrial nitrogen fixation. Alright. Next, biological nitrogen fixation. Now this is very important for your exam, and this is what we'll be discussing much more in details. Now see, as you already by now you might have understood that biological nitrogen fixation means nitrogen fixation by the help of certain living organisms. Okay. So see, reduction of nitrogen into ammonia by living organism is called biological nitrogen fixation. And these living organisms are nothing but microorganisms. Okay, this may be certain bacteria or cyanobacteria. Now see, these are certain microbes which possesses the enzyme nitrogenase. The enzyme is nitrogenase, and that would be allowing the organism to finally fix nitrogen. Alright. Now, important examples of those microbes which possess nitrogenase enzyme or which have the capacity of nitrogen fixation. So these are very important examples. They are free-living aerobic bacteria. There are some free-living aerobic bacteria in the soil which have the enzyme due to which they will be able to fix nitrogen, that is Azotobacter and Baserungia. Then there is a free-living anaerobic bacteria like Bacillus, Clostridium, Rhodospirillum. Free-living nitrogen-fixing blue-green algae or cyanobacteria, that is Anabaena or Nostoc. Likewise, symbiotic nitrogen-fixing bacteria like Rhizobium and Frankia. Rhizobium is a symbiotic nitrogen-fixing bacteria which is going to be found in the roots of leguminous plants like sweet clover, sweet pea, likewise alfalfa, etc. But Frankia is another symbiotic nitrogen fixer which will be found in non-leguminous plant roots like in the roots of alnus. Okay, that's the difference. Leguminous plants, non-leguminous plants. Okay. Now, for step 2, after finally nitrogen fixation has occurred, that means atmospheric nitrogen has been converted to soil nitrogen forms by various processes. Next thing that we learn about is ammonification. Why? Because now as nitrogen is replenished in the soil, from the soil the plants would take it up, and from plants the animals would be receiving it. And when both would die, now the nitrogen present in the dead remains of the plants and animals will be converted to ammonia. That is what is ammonification, right? So we are discussing ammonification. So see here, decomposition of organic nitrogen of dead plants and animals into ammonia is called ammonification. It is carried out by certain microbes again, like Bacillus ramosus, Bacillus vulgaris, Actinomycetes, etc. Now in this step, do remember first what will happen is the protein, which is the major, which consists of the nitrogen, organic nitrogen mostly, the proteins will be converted into amino acid, will be broken into amino acids first. The amino acids will be then deaminated to form organic acids. This organic acid will be finally used by the bacteria for their metabolism. Alright, this is how ammonification occurs. Next, nitrification. So after ammonification, when ammonia is formed, the ammonia will be converted, the gaseous ammonia, the ammonium gas will be converted into the ammonium ion. Okay, it will be protonated to form ammonium ion. So this ammonium ion will be readily converted into first nitrite and then nitrate. This is what is called nitrification. Okay, so see here, some of the ammonia volatilizes and enters the atmosphere. Fine, but most of it is converted into nitrates by soil microbes again. This is called nitrification. Now nitrification involves two steps. First, where ammonia will be converted into nitrite. Okay, ammonia into nitrite. In this first step, there are two bacteria involved, that is Nitrosomonas and Nitrococcus. And the next is nitrite into nitrate. That will be again requiring another pair of bacteria, that is Nitrobacter and Nitrocystis. Okay. Now do remember, all these nitrifying bacteria are chemoautotrophs. Okay, they are chemoautotrophs, means they are autotrophs, but they do not use sunlight to make their food. Okay, rather they use some chemicals. So they use the energy released during, see, energy is being released in nitrification step. So this energy that is being released is used in the synthesis of organic substances from carbon dioxide and a hydrogen donor. So they are making their own food, but without using sunlight. So they are autotrophs, but they do not use solar radiation. That's the difference. So they are chemoautotrophic bacteria. That's a very important for you to remember. Alright, understood this much? Now that you know that, because in the soil mostly the nitrogen will remain in the form of nitrate. That's why nitrate will be taken up by the plant roots mostly, right? This nitrate will enter the plant roots or the plant cells, and it will get stored up in the sap vacuole of the plant cells, which will also increase the osmotic potential of the cell also. Fine, the solute potential will increase in the cell. But it is not, nitrate is something that will not be doing anything more in the plant cell, because nitrate cannot be directly used up inside the plant body to make nitrogenous compounds. For making or for using the nitrate, this nitrate has to be again converted back to ammonia inside the plant body. Understood this? Fine. Ammonia, when released in the soil, will be readily converted to nitrate. So nitrate is the one which will be mostly available in the soil for absorption by the plant roots. But once nitrate is taken up inside the plant body, it does not have any further uses. To use the nitrogen, we have to again convert the nitrate into ammonia inside the plant body. And this is what is called nitrate assimilation. Okay, see here, nitrate is first converted into ammonia before being incorporated into organic compounds inside the plant body. And this is called nitrate assimilation, and nitrate assimilation would be also occurring in two steps. First step, obviously nitrate will be reduced to nitrite, and then second step, nitrite to ammonia. Just like ammonia to nitrite, nitrite to nitrate, now reverse will happen. Nitrate to nitrite, nitrite to ammonia. Is that clear? Now this is happening inside where? Inside the plant body. So see here, first step, nitrate is reduced to nitrite by the enzyme nitrate reductase, and the enzyme is a flavoprotein and contains molybdenum. So in this particular step, molybdenum is a very essential element which would be required. Next step, nitrite is reduced to ammonia by the enzyme nitrite reductase this time. Now, nitrite reductase do not possess molybdenum but contains copper and iron. Alright, understood this? So, here again, copper and iron are essential elements required. Now, what would happen, you see, this for this second step, one very crucial or important fact you should remember, for reduction of nitrite into ammonia, in the second step, ferredoxin is required. And ferredoxin is only present in the leaves of the plant. So what is happening? What is going to happen, you see? In the first step, when nitrate is converted to nitrite, this nitrite is first transferred into the leaf. It is translocated into the leaves of the plant. In the leaves, there is ferredoxin. Ferredoxin will now it will act as an electron donor. As it is going to donate the electrons, it is going to help in the process of reduction of nitrite into ammonia. So the second step will occur in the leaves of the plant. Do remember that. Okay, understood? So that is that was a complete different thing that we were discussing here. That is what would happen after the nitrate is taken up by the plant roots inside the plant body, how it is going to get assimilated. That's what we have discussed. But then otherwise, in the nitrogen cycle, what would be happening after nitrification? In the nitrogen cycle, after nitrification, there is this step 4, that is denitrification. Okay, in denitrification, what would happen? See, the nitrate, whenever there is anaerobic condition, say waterlogging condition or any as such things, the nitrate is then used up by certain kind of microbes as a source of oxygen. Okay, nitrate is used by certain microbes as a source of oxygen during anaerobic condition. So it is at that time they will perform a particular reaction so that nitrate will be converted into atmospheric nitrogen. So this step is known as denitrification. Alright. So see, this nitrates present in the soil is reduced to gaseous nitrogen by certain microbes again, that is Pseudomonas denitrificans and Thiobacillus denitrificans. The step occurs as such. First, ammonia is converted to nitrogen dioxide, then nitric oxide, nitrous oxide, and finally atmospheric nitrogen. Alright. So this is the entire process of nitrogen cycle in details. I hope all of you are clear about it. In the next, next we will be discussing regarding nitrogen fixation by the bacteria Rhizobium. That is symbiotic nitrogen fixation by the bacteria Rhizobium.